this episode, we have Scott Aberg and Dee with us again to talk about the Horslic product. So, Dee, kick us off and talk about how this product came to Nutrition Plus.
Hey, Kristen, thanks for having us. Yes, so Nutrition Plus, we're known for our cow calf products. We're known for our loose mineral protein tubs. We have always had an equine line of tubs. We called it the Performance Plus Equine. It was never anything that we pushed or that we put time into. It was just to provide something for these ranch horses since we were already taking a truck there with their cow mineral. Um, with that, we saw a hole in our market where we needed a more well-known equine supplement product and brand name. And so we got with Scott and his boss and the new generation team, and they had a hole in our spot, and we needed a product like theirs. So it just made sense on paper, and now with relationships that this purple tub that everyone recognizes and has nationwide branding, for us to distribute it in our area, it just made sense, and we've been pushing it. This year's in 2025, we kind of started in March and have already surpassed sales of all our Performance Plus Equine we've had in years past. So has shown to be a good product, and Scott can tell you why it works for our program.
Sure. Well, and that's great because, even ranch horses these days, I mean, you think about WRCA and the quality of horses that are there compared to when it started 30 years ago, it has really elevated. And so folks are very focused on their horses, even the ranch horses. So, Scott, tell us about the product, tell us about the label and information that is helpful for the reps to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on, and appreciate Dee taking over some distribution of this product. And it's been a wonderful relationship. Horslick started quite a few years ago from a kind of a mistake that happened at a testing center. I don't know if anybody knows who Dr. Greg Vinniclausen is in Canyon there, but he does a lot of repo work, and he knows the power and the value of omega-3. And we had a cattle tub that was really, really high in flax oil and flaxseed. And he put it on some mares, and the results were amazing. So he called us and said, "You guys need to come down here." And of course, first thing you think about is what happened when he was doing the testing, did something. But he said, "Oh, no, no, it's all good." We went down there, and he told us that the results he was having, where the mares were coming into the heat a little sooner than they should have. Their heat was hotter. He just wanted to know how it was made. So we got him in contact with our nutritionist that at that time was Dr. Jim Joulard from Kansas State, and they visited. And Dr. Vinniclausen said, "Yeah, it's great, but I can't sell a cattle product to my horse guys." We were talking about the cutting world and the performance horses and that. So they sat down and they took the basis of our cattle tub and made the product that's now known as Horslic. And we'll get into more of how it's made, but that was the gist of how it started. They took the flax oil and the flax seed as a basis, and then added the Zinpro minerals, the Diamond V yeast, and all that we'll talk about a little bit as we go along here. But that was how it started, and it was kind of a mistake. Well, then we did a survey when we got into this and talked to a lot of people, women mainly, and asked what color tub they wanted. And as Dee said, it's pretty well known. We still have people that come into the stores and they'll say, "Hey, I need that purple horse tub." "You mean the Horslic?" "I don't know, that purple tub." So it was a good decision to go purple, and it's pretty well known. So yeah, that's how it started. If you think about the gist behind the horse product in general, you're talking about an animal that is a grazer by nature. I mean, they're out in the pasture. When we took, they graze 24/7. That's the way their system is designed. It's a put through system. It's not a ruminant. If you took that intestine out, it'd be 70 feet long. So there's a lot of area that feed has to be pushed through. So they eat all the time. And then what did we do? When we domesticated them, we put them in pens, and now we feed them once or twice a day. Hopefully you could do it 3 times and kind of mimic that to give them a little better. But in the meantime, we started feeding supplements to make up what they don't have. Well, one thing Dr. Vinniclausen saw during that test when he put those tubs out there was those mares were licking on that all day long, but they were still only getting about 2 pounds of supplement a day. And he just was amazed at that and said, man, you guys are missing the boat when you think about an animal in a pen. They're licking on that. They're naturally mimicking their eating system. They're eating small amounts all day long. So we're putting a little protein, a little vitamins, a little mineral into their stomach, and it goes through there all day long. That we'll get into how many visits and that, but it licking on it 24/7 and still only eat 2 pounds. So it gave them something to do. It gave them nutrition, and he just loved it that the head was naturally down instead of up. So that's the way they drain their sinuses. That helped. And that they were licking on it all day long, 2 pounds a day. So that's kind of the gist behind how the supplement works. It's an all natural product. We don't put any fillers or in there, a little bit of salt to help get their electrolytes. But when we designed this product, we said we're not going to make the ordinary horse tub. I mean, everybody had one out there, just like Dee described. It was a 12% with a few other things in it. We went the opposite way and built one that you probably don't need anything else in. And I can talk about barrel racers because I'm married to one, so I feel like I can, but they want everything that's new and designed. Well, this has pretty much everything in it. It was designed by Vinniclausen and Joulard to help with the cutting horses, the performance horses, and things like that. So it's very high in electrolytes, Diamond V yeast. The Zinpro mineral is put in there at 50% rate, so it's twice as high as it normally. And then the flax oil and flax seed, which is the oil in there is at 15%, and it's all coming from omega-3. And omega-3 is the healthy polyunsaturated fat. So it's beneficial for the animal and not omega-6, which is the pro-inflammatory type compounds. It's an anti-inflammatory, so it helps with joints and that. But where we saw the benefit and where Vinniclausen saw the benefit was in the reproduction animal, the benefits of breeding and things like that. But to take it to the next level, it's excellent for performance horses. It has everything in there.
Well, it sounds like y'all came at it from a really neat perspective and have continued to look at it and make it the best that it can be without a mindset of this is how it needs to be, this is how it should be. You let go of all of that and just let it be what it needs to be.
Well, yes, and I mean, you think about supplements in general. When you go to supplement a horse and you take a normal supplement that you go feed 2 pounds to, how fast do they consume it? Maybe at the maximum 10 minutes. I don't even think it takes the horse 10 minutes to eat 2 pounds when you go put the loose supplements in there. And yes, they get their stuff, but it's all at once. Where you think about this, instead of getting 2 pounds in 5 minutes, you're getting 2 pounds over 24 hours. So they lick on it multiple times a day, again, mimicking the natural eating system, getting that vitamins, minerals in that, Diamond V yeast, everything in there. And so it's a great way to supplement. And if you put everything in there, you don't need anything else. And it's 24/7. You don't have to go out there. So where we saw a lot of benefit for the working people was that they could put that out there and they didn't have to go feed their supplement all the time. They knew it was there and their horses were getting it. Quite a benefit.
Sure, that's excellent. Well, would you like to go into some of the specifics of what is included and some of those benefits?
Yes. I guess if you look at it from the performance side, we have a product called Horslic Omega Elite. It'll have the green label on it. All the tubs are purple. The only difference is the green, the blue, or the orange label that's on it. But the green is by far the premier one, and that's the Omega Elite. And you're talking about a 12% protein, 15% fat. It's got all the phosphorus, copper. I mean, it's got the lysine, thiamine, riboflavin, everything you need in there, along with the Diamond V yeast. One of the things that we put in there extra in this one is we do put amino acids. We fortify it with the amino acids and the electrolytes to help come off of the workouts on these performance horses. Diamond V yeast, as we all know, will help the guts and also help with their recovery after a hard workout. So we put that, the XPC in there to have the highest rated one. The Zen Pro, of course, is the chelated minerals at 50%. And then the phosphorus, salt, everything for the electrolytes. So the Omega Elite is 13 protein, 15 fat, and again, fortified from top to bottom. So the second one that we sell a lot of is called the Horslic Performance. And this is the one I want to get into a little bit about ever since we started. I'm not, this is named Performance because at that time it was better than anything out on the market, but it is the lowest formulated product we have, which is still higher than most anything out in the market, but the lowest one that we make. So it's only 12 protein, 8 fat. And so Performance, it should probably be called Daily Maintenance, but Performance is still a pretty good name. It's still better than anything out there. But again, it's only about half the fat as the Omega Elite. A great product for maybe out on the ranches more, where you're not talking about a performance horse and you're just wanting to supplement those working horses. Still 8% fat, all the protein, vitamins, and minerals, everything you need in there. Doesn't have quite all the electrolytes and things like that, but a great product for maybe more of the working ranch horses, things like that you're going to just set it and leave it.
That's great. With the Omega Elite and the Performance, what are some of the common questions that you get about those two products?
That's a great one, because the first question I get is, well, it's all sugar. Well, I beg to differ, because it's, you'll go to these horse shows and they'll say, oh, I can't feed my horse that, it's all sugar. I said, you're talking about molasses? Yep, molasses is all sugar. I said, well, that's funny. Molasses is what's left after they take the sugar off of the product. Yes, there is some sugar in molasses, but it's only enough to make the product that we use to crystallize. And I'm going to explain that a little bit. Is how many people have watched peanut brittle being made, or ever know what peanut brittle is? You watch your grandma make it. She puts a big old pot. She puts that sugar in there. It crystallizes. She puts other things in there, and she pours it out in the pan, and it turns hard. We're pretty much nothing but a big peanut brittle maker but there is enough sugar in the molasses to, when we heat it up to 280 to 300 degrees, that it starts crystallizing what sugar is left. And then we put the dry ingredients when it's down to about 180 in there, blend it, put it in there, and 24 hours later it turns hard, and then it has to be rehydrated by the licking action of the animal. The moisture in the air and the licking action is how it rehydrates. Just like when you're eating peanut brittle, unless you just crunch it, you still have to, when you put it in your mouth, you kind of suck on it, and that moisture from your mouth loosens that sugar up. That's what we do with those tubs. So I don't want to be called a peanut brittle maker, but that's sort of how this is. And that's kind of how we justify it. But in saying that, it's the hardness of the product that controls consumption. It has to rehydrate, right? That's why they can only get 2 pounds. They have to lick on it. And yeah, they'll get frustrated and they'll kind of try and bite and chew on it, but they'll learn that they just got to lick on it, and away they go. But back to the molasses deal, it's not all sugar. Molasses is what's left, right? And if you think about how a horse licks on that, I use this analogy when I do a lot of training. I am a type 2 diabetic. So if I took a Snickers bar and I ate that Snickers bar, and an hour later I tested my sugar, it's going to be spiked out of the roof, right? But if I took that Snickers bar and I cut it into 24 pieces, and every hour I took one little piece, you would not see my index. We actually did the trial for a year, and we fed no supplements in the horse to horses, and we put the glucose monitors in their tails where that's best reading. And what you see is when you feed those dry supplements and they eat that in 5-10 minutes, it's no different than eating a candy bar, and then you go away, it spikes and then it goes down. Where you take the 24 hours and you take those small amounts, when those horses are stalled, they'll go to them 37 in our trial, it was 37 times a day. And they basically ate, I have it right here, like stalled horses. It was 2 minutes and 42 seconds of licking each visit. They did it 39 times a day. So when people say all they do is sit on that tub and lick, they're probably right on the stalled horse. They have nothing else to do unless you feed them hay, right? But in that, they only ate 15 grams per meal. To put that in perspective, that's equivalent of 6 pennies. So if you imagine 6 pennies, that's what they ate. So again, it won't spike their glycemic index with meals like that. But yeah, they do lick on it a lot, but they have to get that. I mean, think about trying to lick off 2 pounds of anything. So it takes them a lot of meals, but they're small. And so they don't get that spike in that. So I have a pretty good argument for people that say it's all sugar. I can't feed my horse sugar. It's probably one of the safest products you can feed a horse, but I don't recommend it on foundering or horses like that at all, because it helps convert their feed, and it does make everything else, it takes more sugar out of everything else. So just be careful when you talk about these foundered and overweight horses. They can be effect there, but for a normal horse, let them lick on it all day long. If they're over consuming, we have multiple sizes. We've got the smaller, the buckets, the 60 pound. The bucket is a 40 pound. You can hang it on the fence, move it in and out if you want. We've got the 60 pound one that has a snap on lid. You can put it out, snap the lid on, help control consumption. I like the bigger ones where the horse licks, the 60 pounders, because the horse licks across it. They don't get so much on their nose. Buckets, you think about the size of the bucket, it's only about this big around, and the horse has got a pretty big muzzle, and they lick on that, and they can only go so far, and then pretty soon they're going straight down into the bucket and they get it all over the nose. It does wash right off, but people sometimes don't like that. The 60 pounder, the 125s and the 200s, man, they get licking across there. You hardly see anything on them for cleanliness. So, but we have 40 pound, 60 pound, 125, 200 pound tubs. So quite a variety of what you can put out there.
Sure. Tell us a little bit about horses that are just turned out in a pasture, at least turned out part of the day. What is the protocol, and how many tubs do you need per horse? Any insight there?
That's a good question, because we get that. That is one of the big questions. I recommend, if you have a horse that's turned out, that you put the Horslic out of the pasture. Just be careful. We recommend 1 tub for every 10 to 12 horses. But if there's 10 to 12 horses, I always recommend 2 tubs, because you're going to have one that doesn't want the other one to go lick. Put them out, keep them apart. You don't want horses fighting. You see that when you put them in the pens and you bring the horses back in, and that many horses, they get to fighting, and then there's an area where they can get crowded, and I don't want injuries. So I like them out in the pasture while they're eating. And if you're only going to do it for so long, I recommend the tubs out in the pasture. I'd rather see it 1 to every 5 to 6 horses than 1 to 10. I think that's what it says on the label, but I just don't like the fighting, and pushing off. But also then always 2 tubs helps. Even if there's 5 horses out there, you might drop down in size, but put out a couple tubs out there, you won't see the fighting.
Sure, that makes sense. Is there additional information that you want to share that we have not covered already? And Dee, if you have any comments too.
I'd just like to mention the fat for one thing, and what it does. And during this protocol of building this, we were looking at the values of the omega-3s. And one thing that we found was they call it the horse that changed the world. And it isn't the horse, well, he changed the world, but he also changed the way they fed horses. And there was a little horse called Secretariat. And they weren't feeding Secretariat grains and starches. They were feeding him oil, because fats from the oil go into the muscle and stay in there and are extracted as he needs it. So what they were finding out was these grains and starches are like feeding a kid a candy bar. It's a really high energy, and then it goes away. Where they were feeding Secretariat all these high fats and that, and absolutely he had enlarged heart and was quite a racehorse, right? But he could take that fat out of his muscle and release it as he was on these long races, and that's where he would just pull away. And from that point on, that's where you started seeing all these companies start putting these fats into their feeds. Well, there's good fats and bad fats, and omega-3 is the good polyunsaturated fat, and that's what we're using. So it's the good fat. They put it into their muscle. A lot of these working horses and that, you won't see so much of that frothy sweat that you're feeding when you're feeding grains under the breast collars, things like that. But it is a good fat, and it's released when they need it. So that is a huge factor on a product like this. So
Yeah, that's great information. Dee, do you have any thoughts? Anything you want to share?
I think you can tell from this conversation that we have an extremely knowledgeable team about this product behind us. This product is we're going to carry this product with and without fly control. We're using the Clarifly product for us, and so this product, Performance and Omega Elite, can come with or without fly control. Clarifly products. Besides that, I've fed it to my own horses. A lot of the owners have fed it to their own horses. We've seen great results. That's why we're a supporter and a distributor of it. I think it'll fit our ranchers and our customers well, and will stand out on the feed store floors. So we have a great team. Any other reps have any more questions? Scott's going to be part of the team for a long time. So sure excited to push this product forward.
That's excellent. Well, and it sounds like too, like you said at the beginning, if a truck is already going somewhere, this is a great product to say, hey, do you want to give this a try? Here's some of the key points with it. It's a very natural add-on to a lot of customers and what they're already purchasing.
That's correct. That's correct.
Very good. Any other closing thoughts that you all have? And again, I would just encourage the reps to reach out to Dee, and he can put you in touch with Scott and get you answers for any questions that you have.
I'd like to add a couple things. I went through my one thing that I want to make sure everybody's aware of is they usually put these products on the ground, and these horses, they want to bite it and chew it, but they have to lick it and they get mad. So they might start pawing on it. When I very first started this 20 years ago, I had a horse. I kept hearing this banging and didn't realize what he was doing. And he pretty near pawed through a shoe on the front feet. So my suggestion is, instead of having the ladies call you and say, hey, you put rocks in your tubs. No, your horse is pawing on it. Just be aware that they will try to paw on it. So I like to get the product off the ground or in some sort of a container that they can't paw on it. In Montana, we get a lot of frozen water tanks, so we use those split water tanks. We'll put it in there just to keep them. They have to reach over and lick on it. The bucket works good. The 60-pounder, a 60-pound tub will fit in one of those 13-gallon garbage cans. It just fits right in it with the little handles. You can strap it to the fence. It keeps it off the ground. Those 125s fit into a 30. If you cut the top of a 30-gallon barrel out, it fits exactly inside of that. And you can strap it to the fence. Just try to keep it off the ground, or be aware that they will paw on this if they get mad, and they will get mad till they learn how to lick on it. The other thing I'll say real quick is when we talk about this molasses again and all the faults behind it. When you think about it, it's a fun fact that we use all the time, and that is, how many ladies would feed their horse an apple because they love them? 2 pounds of Horslic has less sugar than an apple. Just fun fact.
Well, that's a great perspective and helps us understand and connect the dots, because, everybody who has horses, we love our horses and we want to do the best thing for our horses. So thank you so much for all the information and insight today.
No problem.